Hey, what's going on? Chris Wojciechowski from the emailcopywriter.com here. Got another video for you today. A lot of people follow me on my email list, people who read my blog and watch these videos. A lot of these people are email copywriters or aspiring email copywriters. And one of the questions that I get all the time, the things that people want to know is, how do I become a six-figure email copywriter, meaning someone who writes emails for clients for different kinds of online brands and digital brands, and where that copywriter can generate enough revenue for their clients and get enough gigs and get enough work where they could, maybe leave their day job or supplement what they're doing, or it'll just reach that, that hallowed $100,000 a year, $8,333.33 a month mark in their freelance email copywriting business. So that's what I want to talk about today, because that's something I did many years ago. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the steps that it takes to get there. The first thing I'll tell you is that it might sound daunting. And I guess when you're starting out, it kind of is, right? When you're starting out, maybe you are at a day job, maybe you have just quit your job, or, maybe you're like working with an agency or a company and you want to leave and, go freelance and start, your business of your own, right? It'd be a little bit scary because a lot of things have to happen. You need to make sure you're maintaining client flow and lead flow. You need to make sure you're closing deals. You need to make sure you're getting paid what you're worth. And you make sure that your life is not becoming a living hell because you're working crazy hours, where you still have a family life and you still have a life, away from the computer. And, so you could actually have a good lifestyle while you're doing this. So let's kind of tackle this one by one. The first thing that needs to happen if you want to be a six-figure email copywriter is you need to make sure that before we even talk about anything else, before we talk about money or how much you charge per email or what kind of emails you write or any of those other things, first thing that you need to get really, really good at is engineering lead flow. Now, leads come from a lot of different sources. When I say leads, I mean potential clients. I've tried just about every single thing there is in the book to get clients, and everything pretty much works. Everything from cold email to, although it's not my favorite, but cold email to referrals to job boards. Job boards like copychief.com, there's a great one there where they post new jobs every single week from some big time clients. From putting out content, SEO, even paid advertising, we've done a lot of that, and I've gotten some clients that way. Speaking, authority content, there's so many different ways to get clients. But if you are going to break the six-figure mark, what you have to become really, really good at is, obviously you have to be good at writing emails and delivering results. But to get past that mark where you're making a consistent $8,000, $8,500 plus a month, or even $10,000 a month from your email copywriting business, you need to get good at bringing in business. A lot of people, they say, oh, well, I want to be a six-figure freelancer and I write really, really well and I write really good emails. And the few clients I've had, they tell me that I get great results. And that's just not enough. It'll get you part of the way there, most likely. And who knows, some people might luck their way into maintaining that, $8K a month plus in revenue, but it's a skill. Developing lead flow and engineering lead flow in your freelance business, it's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym and never lifting your legs, right? You're going to walk around, you might have a big upper body, but there's going to be, people are going to look at you and think that there's something wrong, right? There's always going to be something wrong with your business unless you fully develop every part, and engineering lead flow is part of that. So just as much as you're practicing your writing skills, you need to get really good and study what other service businesses, both, other copywriters, what they're doing in the industry, and even look outside the industry and saying, what are other service-based businesses doing to generate leads and referrals and new business, and agencies and even businesses that are bigger than you? Like, how are these people at the higher levels bringing in clients in a consistent way? And that's where you kind of want to start. So assuming that you have enough lead flow, and what's a good rule of thumb? Like, I realized that I need to have lead sources. I think I realized this in my business where I was getting a lot of referrals at one point in my career. I still get a lot of referrals today, probably, I don't know, maybe on a weekly basis. But I said to myself, I need to have about 30 referral partners, people who they might be, a web developer I know, or a graphics person, or a paid traffic person, or another digital business owner, or someone who, throughout the course of the year will say, hey, you know what, I got a friend, Chris, I should introduce you to him. He writes emails, he might be able to help your brand, and they make that introduction. So I told myself I had about 30 people who refer 2 clients a year. That's about 1.25 referrals that I'm getting, about 5 a month, every single month, give or take, right? So I said, okay, if I have 5 leads coming in every single month, can I close 3 of them? And then if I close 3 of them, can I make at least $3,000 from each one of those deals? And that's how I started to think about how to kind of chip away at that number of, the 8333.33 a month to, that puts you right at like 100K even. And that's what we do. We just reverse engineer. Like, whenever I work with copywriters or coach copywriters, or when I have in the past, it's always just a matter of saying, well, how much money do you want to make? Okay, if it is 100K, divide by 12 months. There's your number. How many gigs do we want to work each month? And then once we decide what that number is, how big does each one of those deals has to be? And then, okay, if you want to earn $3,000 a client, what are you going to do for each one of those clients? What problems are you going to solve? What deliverables are you going to sell them in that package of $3K per deal? So that's kind of the way we think about it. So that's the first step. The second step is closing on the phone. And, what I've realized in this business is that if you really want to be a good, successful email copywriter, and I like to think I have a little bit of success. I mean, I built, an email copywriting agency up to multiple six figures a year. And that was even after I was a multiple six-figure per year email copywriter. Now I have a seven-figure business doing this, teaching, consulting, coaching, and obviously providing services, email copywriting services, email marketing services for clients. So I think I have a little bit of, I think I could speak on this and make it, legit. But what I've realized after hundreds of clients is you're going to have to talk to these people on the phone. And that's one thing that so many copywriters, they get so scared of. And if you're an introvert, especially, like me, I'm an extrovert. I love talking. I love doing these videos. I like going on a podcast. I love shooting the shit. And like talking with people actually energizes me. Like I get energy as I'm doing that. So talking to new clients and being in those situations. And I don't know if I was always like that. I think in the beginning, maybe it was a little bit scary, right? Because you're talking with these people and maybe the person owns a business that does $50 million a year and you're kind of just getting your start and you're almost like intimidated to be in the same room, let alone on the phone with that person, and you don't want to fumble and you don't want to look like an idiot. You don't want to say the wrong thing. But it is a skill, just like lead gen is a skill and engineering lead flow is a skill. Talking to people on the phone and knowing how to get a yes at the end of that phone call and knowing how to end that phone call with an agreement and an invoice being sent to them and money being sent back to you so you could deliver work for that client. That's a skill in and of itself. And what I found is that I just use scripts, and it doesn't mean like a robotic, like telemarketer script, but I like to use a script. And I basically have the same questions I ask every single client. I don't reinvent the wheel. Sometimes I veer off and I say, if a client brings up an interesting story or something, I'll kind of dig a little bit deeper because I just want to know, right? And, it helps them open up and feel more comfortable, and then I can get more information than I need. But I like to just follow a simple script for closing these sales calls. And it's just a matter of asking the right questions and then you shutting up. That's the big thing. So many people, so many copywriters, they fumble around, or what happens is they'll go into a call and they won't have a plan. So they'll say, hey, I got to talk to this client. Let me get on the phone with them. They'll hop on the phone and then the client will come hot out of the gates and say, hey, we need help with this. By the way, how much do you charge? Have you done this before? Can you show me some results? Can you show me some conversion stats? Can you show me your samples? Blah, blah, blah. And the copywriter's like deer in headlights and they get all flustered and they lose control of the frame of that phone conversation. Right? They get like just railroaded by this client. And it's happened to everyone. It happened to me in the beginning. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was spending time getting on the phone with clients and things were not going well. I mean, they were going fine. Like I would end up giving them ideas or giving them advice. And then what happened was the client would maybe take some of those ideas, do it themselves, or hire another writer. Long story short, it would just end with us not getting a deal done. And obviously, like I have my own reasons why I wanted that to happen. But the thing is, like, if I know I could help the client and the client knows they need my help and they have a problem that I could solve, I need to do as a copywriter, what you need to do is everything in your power to make sure that you create that opportunity for the work to happen. Because if you do, you get paid. So that's a win for you. They get the work done. They probably make a huge multiple on the work they invested. If they hire you to write a 10 email sequence and that sequence starts bringing in 2, 3, 5, 10, 20K a month for them, month after month after month, and they paid you $4,000 for it or whatever it is, that's a great deal. So you need to get good at making those situations happen because it really is a win-win, not just for your business, but for their business as well. That's kind of the second thing. And then the third thing about, breaking through this six-figure mark, especially in the year 2022 with the landscape, and there's a lot of email copywriters out there, and there's more competition than ever. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think there's tons of work and, more work. I think there's definitely more work than there are copywriters because a lot of companies send really bad emails. A lot of companies that do a good job, but there's definitely a lot more who send some pretty bad emails. So that's the good news. But it's understanding the math. So the next part is like understanding the math of how to charge, right? Now, the big thing for me was when I started, the reason I chose to specialize in email copywriting rather than writing long form stuff or video scripts or ads, like Facebook ads, front end social ads, things like that, or blog posts or any of those other things was, for me, I was a teacher. So I would get home, like most people with any day job, I would get home, I'd be exhausted from work. And I would say, man, I don't have the energy to try to knock out, not a whole sales letter, but even like a big piece of a sales letter, like to write, an 87-page sales letter. I was like, that seems like a really tough project and seems like it's just a lot of focus to see it all the way through. And it really is. Those are really hard projects. writing these long form sales letters for, landing pages for, big direct response companies. And that was what a lot of copywriters were doing. But there weren't as many, at least this didn't seem to me, there weren't as many people doing email copy. And the way I looked at it was like an email might be anywhere from 150 to 500 words. Usually they're around 300, 400, 500 words, right in that range, which comes out to about a page, maybe 2 pages or page and a half of text in a Google document, size 11 or 12 font, whatever it is. So for me to go home after work and write one email, that might take me, for a client back then, anywhere from 20 minutes to 30, 40 minutes, whatever it was, right? Sometimes maybe if it was a really tough one, it might take me an hour. But when I looked at it, I said, okay, even if it takes me an hour per email and I get $100 for that email and I do 3 emails a night, that's a manageable workload, right? I can come home from school, come home from work, and I start, 4:30, 5 p.m., whatever it is, and I say, okay, for the next let's call it 2 hours for 3 emails, right? And I spend those 2 hours, I make $300 for those 3 emails, right? I didn't get paid $10,000 for a sales letter or anything, but I just made those $300. If I can do the next thing and I can keep myself booked every single day like that, 5 days a week, basically what's happening is I'm making $300 in 2 hours of work to deliver that service, right? And I just got home from my day job where I was working for 8 hours and I had to commute there and back, anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. Sometimes there's traffic. So we're talking an 8 to 10 hour day, right? And I would make $300 a day for the 8 hour, not even including the commute, right? Because I think my salary back then, it was 52 or 54 a year, 54K, whatever it was back when I was teaching at my second teaching job. And I said, let me think about the math here. So I just made the same amount of money in a quarter of the time, right? Even if it took me 3 hours, it's like a third of the time, right? So I said, if I could do that every single day, then I could literally replace my day job and the money that I'm earning there. Obviously, this is all pre-tax, both the day job salary and the self-employed email copy stuff. But I said, if I can continue to make that amount of money and just write 3 emails a day, even if it's just 2 emails a day, I can basically replace my income working a third, maybe even a quarter of the time that I was. And then I started to think to myself, okay, if I had the full day, instead of having my worst 40 hours, the 40 hours of the week that I'm squeezing in the nights and on the weekends and all those things, if I didn't have to worry about those hours and I instead could dedicate my best 40 hours, my Monday through Friday, my 9 to 5 or my 8 to 4, whatever it worked out to be, I forget. If I could use my best 40 hours to focus on copywriting instead of putting on the back burner on the nights, on the weekends, and those kind of things, what could I do, right? Could I even double what I was doing? And that's the thing. To get to 6 figures as an email copywriter in 2022 and beyond, it's just simply a matter of saying, okay, if we let's say charge $100 an email, which I don't think is an unreasonable rate for most people, especially at the beginning level. My agency, we actually charge between $600 and $1,000 depending on the project. Obviously, we're an agency. We work with really big clients, but when I was a solo freelancer, I would charge anywhere from $250 to $300, $400, $500, depending on the job. That was just me by myself. So even if but let's say you're charging $100 an email, right? Nothing wrong with that. Let's say you're starting, let's say maybe if it's 75, whatever it is. If you're charging $100 an email, that means you have to write about 83, let's call it 85 emails a month. Actually, let's make it even number. It's called 84 a month. That's 21 a week. That seems like a lot, right? But when you break it down by day, if you're working for 5 days a week, 21 divided by 5, that's about 4 emails a day. So let's say it takes you an hour to write email, that's 4 hours a day. Realistically, it probably isn't going to take you an hour to write every single email. You could probably write them about half the time. So it might take you 2 hours to write 4 emails. So basically, you could work 2 hours a day and hit that 6-figure mark just by writing email copy. Now, can you do that with other types of copy? Of course you can, right? Like if you write one $10,000 sales letter a month and that's your project and you just work on a little bit each day, absolutely you'll hit your goal, right? The trouble is maintaining that pace. And what I found is like those big projects take a lot out of you. The big launches, the big sales letters, those are really intense projects. And whenever I would do those, I would always need a break. I'd always need some downtime. But with an email, I can knock out an email now. Even for clients, I'll knock out an email in 10 minutes sometimes. If I know what I'm writing, and I know what the promotion is, and I know what the call to action is, and I know what I want the hook to be, I sit down, I pump it out, I give it a once over, I make some light edits, I send it off. Maybe they come back with some edits, maybe we collaborate on it, whatever. But 10, 15, 20 minutes, boom, done, right? And I'm charging, 400, 500, 600, maybe even more per email when I'm doing those ones by myself. So that's the thing. It's looking and saying, okay, if I do 80 emails a month, that comes out to about 20 to 21, 22 emails a week. Now, for context, when I was writing as a solo freelancer, when I had retainer gigs and when I had my own clients, what I would do was there was probably about 4 years, maybe even 5 years when I literally consistently, I'm not like exaggerating just for effect, 15 to 30 emails a week, every single week, consistently, because I was doing a ton of launches. I was doing a ton of projects. I was like stuffing my calendar full with as many gigs as I can. And I know not everyone writes as fast as me, but I write fast. So I was able to pump out copy left and right. And I was just pumping out emails. And to the point where I was writing thousands of emails. I mean, there was one client I probably wrote about 3,000, 4,000 emails for over the years, because they just had me writing, hey, can you get these 6 emails done by tomorrow? Cool, done, ship it, right? Next project. And I would just continue to just feed, they'd feed me work, I'd feed it right back to them. And I got really good because I was just writing a lot and writing really fast. And I had tight deadlines. I had to continue to turn around copy over and over and over again. And versus other people who might do 1 or 2 projects a month, right? I said, give me every project. I don't even care what the fee is. Like, I'm just taking on every project I can just to get that reps and that experience. What happens is after a while, it might seem like, oh my gosh, if I have to do 80 emails a month, remember that's at a rate of about $100 an email. So we'll come back to that. But if you're doing 80 emails a month, let's call it, right? That seems like a lot, but you might be writing really fast. And some of the email frameworks that you're using, you might be reusing over and over, right? Like when you have a welcome email, the first email in an autoresponder, that's usually an origin story, right? Like if you know how to write one of those emails, it's just applying a framework to a different brand with a different story. It's not like you have to think of this grand thing that never existed before, right? If you're writing a last chance email for a launch, those are emails that you've probably written before. And it might be for a different client or a different product, but it's the same structure. And that's where I started to learn about email structure and the email frameworks and formulas that go into what makes a really good email. And I started to tell myself, okay, there's really not an infinite number of types of emails. There's maybe 20 when it comes down to it. And if I just know what those 20 are, it's just variations of those ideas. It's just different hooks and different calls to action, different products and different pain points, different objections. Yeah, sure, there's different little pieces, but it's the same. Like when you build a house, you need 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor, right? And a foundation. Whenever you build a house, you're always going to need those things. Each house might look a little bit different, right? They might have brick walls. They might have siding. They might have stucco or whatever, right? But it's a wall at the end of the day, right? So there's always a structure behind all these emails. And that's what I realized. So writing 80 emails a month, while it might seem daunting, I don't know if I probably write about 50 or so myself, even though I have a team and an agency and everything else between my own list and just little projects I sneak in here and there and other automations we're building. And that's me with a team and everything, not even being a solo freelancer anymore. So now here's the thing though. If you think about it, that's $100 an email. If you can charge $200 an email, now you only need to write 40 emails a month, right? And now we're talking, what is that? That was 80 emails. So now we come down to about 40 emails a month. That's about 10 emails a week. That's about 2 emails a day. That might take you an hour. It might take you 2 hours still, right? But that's $200 an email. That's not an unreasonable thing. For a long time, I was charging $300 an email. And this was years and years ago. But I had a real good sweet spot where like every single client I pitched a $300 email to, they said yes. I never got any pushback. I was just closing deals left and right. So it wasn't even like I had to fight for that. Because that's the thing. Sometimes you pitch a client on a project and you have to fight for that fee, right? You have to justify it and like really earn it and really like sell them and overcome objections. And like, I wasn't even doing any of that. I was just like, okay, 10 emails, $300, $3,000. $300 an email, $3,000. Here's the invoice, blah, blah, blah. Sign the deal, make it happen, right? So, and I'm talking fast. I get excited when I talk about this stuff. But getting 6 figures is not tough, right? Or even adding another 6 figures is not really that tough. It sounds daunting, but what has to happen is you have to just break this down into digestible chunks and say, okay, where are my weaknesses? Are my weaknesses with my skills and my frameworks and understanding what makes a good email and how to replicate those emails for over and over and over again for different clients? Is my weakness with closing deals, right? When I'm talking on the phone with clients, am I fumbling the phone call? Am I fumbling what happens after the phone call? Maybe we have a good call, the client says yes, and then things fall apart because my onboarding is not good and I don't have anything automated, or I don't have my software set up for invoicing and those kind of things. Like maybe you're fumbling there, right? But there's always a point. Maybe it's generating the leads in the first place and who the people you're getting on the phone with. Maybe those people just don't have money, right? They're just not ready to hire a copywriter. And there's a lot of great business owners who are just at early stages who, they know they need a copywriter, but let's say the business is making like $8,000 a month, right? They're not going to pay you a $4,000 a month retainer. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And there's nothing wrong. That business might grow and eventually be at a certain size where they can afford to outsource that work. But at that point, they just might not be big enough. So you need to make sure you're also getting on the phone with the right kind of clients. You can't get blood from a stone. That's the big thing to remember. You can't get blood from a stone. You can't get a lot of money from a client who's not making a lot of money, because obviously there's not going to be as much of a guaranteed return, right? They need to have a good list size. They need to have product market fit with their offers. They need to have multiple offers. They need to have things that you can sell that people want, that have been proven, that people have actually paid for before, and they have some leverage and scalability, right? Before they start outsourcing that work to you. So these are all things to think about. I know this was a bit of a long video, but I got a lot to say on this topic. And here's the deal. Like everything I mentioned in this video, if this all seems daunting, if you're like, wow, okay, all this sounds great, but how do I actually do it? How do I actually generate the leads? How do I talk to the clients on the phone? How do I handle going from the phone call to actually getting the money in my account? How do I deliver the project? How do I price these packages? How do I raise my prices? How do I write these email frameworks? How do I write a launch? How do I write an autoresponder? How do I write broadcasts and do those kind of things? How do I talk about retainers with clients? How do I do the research? Where do I come up with the copy hooks? How do I write the subject lines? Right? If you have these questions, which a lot of people do, especially if you're starting out as an email copywriter, I got some good news for you. So I have this course, it's called Email Copy Academy, and I actually created years ago, and I recently teamed up with Kevin Rogers of Copy Chief, who's a good friend and mentor of mine, and we are now offering Email Copy Academy. You could sign right up and basically get instant access to my entire course and get everything that you need. I'm going to teach you literally step by step. What I did was I took everything that was in my brain when after years of freelancing and writing for big clients like Jeff Walker and John Assaraf and Filippo Loretti and Satchel and Page and Cheft and Robert Kiyosaki and Betterment. I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's a whole bunch on my website. You can take a look at all the logos. We're adding more all the time. Motley Fool, another one. Millennium Money, a lot of these ones. Laptop Empires. So after working with all these clients years and years and years, getting tons of results, I said, there's a system in my brain for how I do everything. And I realized I was doing the same stuff every time. So I just took everything that was in my brain and I put it in this course. I put it into Email Copy Academy. And the whole gist of this thing is like, you are going to start at step one. You're going to go through everything in the course. And by the end of it, you are going to have everything you need to have an awesome freelance email copywriting business that can help you get to 6 figures and beyond. No, obviously that's not a guarantee. You got to go out and do the work. This is not like, hey, buy the course and then you wake up tomorrow and, oh my God, I'm a 6-figure copywriter. There's work that's involved. You got to actually go and implement. You got to go through the material. You got to take what we tell you in the course and actually use it. You got to talk with clients. You got to get your fingers dirty, right? You got to put in the work. It's not just buy the course. Oh my gosh, look at me. I'm rich overnight. Isn't that how this stuff works? All right. Like if you want to be a copywriter, you got to write. You got to get clients. You got to close deals. You got to make things happen. You got to make results happen. You got to bring in revenue for your clients. You got to create campaigns. I know it sounds scary. I know it sounds like a lot, right? Especially if you're just starting out at the beginning of this journey, but it's doable. And so many people we've coached hundreds of students. Who knows? By the time you're watching this, it might even be thousands. I've had thousands of students all on my own who've gone through my courses and products, and tons of them have had great success doing this. So it's not an unachievable goal. It's just figuring out what you don't know, right? The good news is I figured everything out for you. Right? I've taken so many students through this. It's one of the most popular email copywriting courses out there. It's growing each and every month, each and every year. We're just changing people's lives, and hopefully we can change yours too. So if you want, there's a link for Email Copy Academy. Make sure you join and let me know how it goes. I'm rooting for you. Leave a comment. Make sure you like this, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you get notifications when I post a new video. I'm posting a new video every single week. If you have questions, drop them in the comments here. Make sure you get on my email list. And that's it. So kick some ass, make it rain. Talk to you soon.